All right, I think we can go ahead and get this party started. Oh my gosh, you all. I was like not prepared to start the stream, honestly, emotionally. I was not ready to start the stream. I didn't know what the first words of my mouth were going to be when I started this stream. You guys, we're here at the end of the Owl House. We are here. We're queer. We're full of
existential fear.
I was gonna say, what was it you said again, Tom? Existential fear. That's what it was. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, there's so many folks in the chat. It's a little overwhelming. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Owl House Season 3 series finale discussion stream. Oh my god, it feels so wild to say that out loud, and it doesn't feel real, honestly. And honestly, for us, for our little group, for all intents and purposes, Owl House is going to go on for a few more weeks because we're obviously not going to be discussing the entire special today. There's so much to talk about and go over. So we'll obviously be continuing. We'll be continuing the discussion for a few weeks, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, I'm all over the place. I'm just, my brain is all over the place. My emotions all over the place. My molecular being is all over the place. I'm just everywhere all at once right now, and I have not even done the intro properly. You guys, we're back with the Owl House discussion stream. It's so nice to see everyone again. I am joined once again by my friend Tom from Curmudgeon Media, our friend and yours. Tom, you want to say hi to the people? oh, we lost him for a second. Are you with us, Tom?
I think my laptop battery is on the way out because it was at like 30% when I switched it on and it died. But I'm back. I missed whatever you said for the last minute.
Don't worry about it. I was just rambling. Basically, if you want to introduce yourself now, go ahead.
I don't know if I'm ready to introduce myself. I don't know if I'm ready to do this.
I'm not ready to do this, y'all. I am not ready for this. I'm not ready for the end. I want to say hi to everyone in the chat. Oh my gosh, there's so many folks here today. Hello, Becca. Hello, Magical. Hello, Jay. Hello, Morgan, Shadow, Toon, Rooster. Oh my gosh, we've got the whole gang here today. It's so nice to see everyone. Happy Easter if you celebrate. Happy Sunday. Yes, lots of tears, lots of feelings. No worries to anyone who's just popping in for a little bit. The VOD will obviously be up. And we will obviously continue the discussion next week as well. There's no way we're going to be finishing in just one stream. So
I have no idea how many this is gonna take.
Yeah, it's gonna take, I want to say, at least 3, maybe 5, maybe more than that, because
it was like 6 last time.
It was like 5 or 6 last time. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have a lot to say of this one. None of us emotionally ready. Might cry again. Absolutely. I definitely cried watching this special. It's crazy. They revealed that Bellows died in a gas leak right at the start. That's funny.
Yeah, that was very, very unexpected.
Right.
That just happened off screen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, being a witch hunter from the 18th century, he didn't really do much to insulate himself against issues with his infrastructure.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Magical asked, do we need more time to process the episode before we discuss it? So today we're obviously gonna have a lot of kind of raw feelings and thoughts, because we literally just watched the special. I literally watched it last night at midnight. And, as we discuss it over the next few weeks, some of our thoughts might change. Some of our feelings might get a little processed a little bit more. So, obviously we'll have more to say and more to think about as time goes on. So today, that's why I feel like today's stream is going to be a little bit more on the chaotic side, with more of our kind of raw reaction and kind of our hot takes, right? As right as the special came up, maybe not as cohesive or analytical as usual because we just watched the special, but as we discuss more over the weeks, we'll obviously have more time to process and more time to say more stuff.
I'm not even sure I have any what could be described as hot takes. I imagine this finale is going to be popular.
Yes, I think so.
People might come away from it with a few nitpicks, maybe, or just
yeah, I definitely have some nitpicks.
individual bits and bobs, but they're not things that are structural or fundamentally have
Right.
any bearing on the overall experience of the episode itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I was like not pessimistic per se going into this episode, but I was certainly sort of like indifferent
Sure.
because of how little the last one landed for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely felt
Um,
similarly.
it didn't play out at all how I was expecting it to, but that's largely because I didn't have any idea of how it was going to play out at
Sure.
all. Um, I feel like it's probably quicker for me to talk about the things I didn't like because there's so few
Sure. Yeah. If you want
and they're
to
so
start with
unimportant.
that.
It's mostly like in terms of structural stuff, and this is really like such a light criticism because it's not really it, the way the episode begins felt a little odd to me. It kind of just like jumps into it.
Agree with
Um,
that. Yeah.
it was very strange,
Yeah.
which kind of makes me wonder if really that last episode and this one were always intended to be viewed in a single sitting.
Right.
Because it really does just cut straight into it. But it gains its footing. I'm glad they didn't. I was a little frustrated. Not frustrated. That's not the word. I'd long since become a little tired of the whole "this is all your fault" loose narrative. So when I saw them doing that again,
Yeah.
when I saw them doing that again, I really felt like we've kind of already covered this ground.
That's how I
But it
felt at the
doesn't last
beginning
very
too.
long.
Yeah. I was like, didn't we already cover this in the last episode? And like maybe if they're trying to kind of show, right, like, oh, this is like how far Luce has come, right? Like since she's kind of gone on this arc, like because at the end of it, right, like okay, so we're gonna be jumping a little bit all over the place, but bear with us, because by the end of the sequence, which by the way is like the first 7 minutes of the special, so I think it went on a little long, but by the end of like this sequence, right, when she realizes that Amity is like not herself, she catches on and she gets her confidence back. She gets her confidence back, right? Like, oh, come, like I know what's going on. Come on, attack me. And so, like, if that was supposed to kind of show, right, like how far she's come on this arc of like this, guilt that she's been carrying, like maybe that's like maybe I would have understood that, but I agree with you that it did feel like we kind of covered this already, and like we've been over this, especially in the last special. So I agree that I felt like it went a little long with the first like 5 minutes, and especially with like each individual, like Luce gets a moment with Willow and Amity and Gus, right? Like it just, and Hunter, right? It just went on for a lot. But I do have stuff in this sequence that I like as well.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. It felt like we were kind of treading old ground a little bit.
But it's like it's a very light criticism for me because I do agree with Toon. I do agree with Toon in the chat where I think it, for me, maybe it did go on just long enough because it got to the end of that sequence just as I was beginning to like get antsy for us to move on, which is the most I can hope for, I guess. That it kind of, it didn't take it further than that. It got just to the point where I was a bit like, what's going on here? And then they kind of moved on. That's the only like what could loosely be described as a structural issue. It's barely an issue.
Yeah.
I guess it's less like criticisms I have, more like things I would have liked to see. I would have loved to have seen more Ida and Camila. I just would have loved to have seen more.
Yeah, we were definitely robbed.
The little tiny bit we got did make me cry.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have seen more of that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have heard Hootie's voice.
I know when you messaged me and you were like, Hootie didn't have any speaking lines. I was like, that can't be right, and you were right. I was like, yeah, he's the titular character of the show. You're not going to give him any speaking lines in the finale.
And I don't think Lilith said anything either. I think Lilith and Hootie were bereft of lines.
Did Lilith say? Did like fake Lilith say something in Ida's nightmare thing in the beginning?
Maybe. I don't count that though. Like actually,
real Lilith didn't
have any lines.
Yeah.
God, what else?
Also, I'm so sorry if I miss your message in the chat. The chat is like popping off today, so I'm doing my best to read everything. But I apologize. There's a lot to talk about, so I apologize if I don't acknowledge everything in the chat today. But I'm reading everything. I promise.
Also, yeah, no bat whistle. There was no bat whistle.
Oh, wait, no, the bat whistle came into play in season 2, didn't it? I don't remember. I don't remember
No,
season
because
2.
the Bat Queen says like, no, this is on the house. Like I'm happy to do this.
Oh, right, with the palisman. That's right. That's right.
So no bat whistle.
Oh,
What
Lilith
else?
said something about planning the quinceañera at the end, I think,
Okay.
according to Bort.
Okay. Bort.
Yeah, Bort is
Uh,
here, which is exciting. Good to see you, Bort.
what else? What else? Um, I think that's it for the stuff that like really stood out to me.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen more Ida and Camila. I think that the
Yeah.
episode did the smart thing in really centering it around the relationship between the three mains.
Yeah, and
Um,
you know, we talked about this a lot during our discussion of the last special about how we kind of felt like we wanted to see that reunion happen in the second episode. And watching this episode, especially like, you know, getting to that beginning part where we finally get the
yeah.
reunion, I definitely felt like we could have had this in the last episode. Like we could have had the reunion and then gotten captured is my kind of thinking. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, just a little nitpick and a little not to
No.
continue to complain about episode 2 as we've been doing for several weeks already. But I don't know. I definitely thought that we could have had the reunion happen in episode 2 and then get captured and then go through all this. And yeah.
The funny thing is, people. This is us starting with all this is gonna make it sound like we didn't like the episode.
I loved the
episode.
episode. I really loved the episode.
I loved the episode. We'll be done with the nitpicks very quickly. There's
Yes.
not a huge amount of what I feel like addressing.
Yeah.
I found it funny more than anything else, just like lightly amusing that that the whole like the biggest criticism we had of the last episode didn't really amount to anything at all.
What can you remind me what you mean by that?
So like Bellows manipulating the collector and having that whole like misunderstanding plot didn't actually really amount to that much.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, you mean our biggest complaint about like the overhearing, the conveniently overhearing the wrong part of the conversation? Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Didn't amount to much. I was thinking that Bellows would try to possess the collector, which ended up not coming through.
Yeah.
Which would have at least given that manipulation thing kind of a purpose to exist.
Sure. Yeah. The way that the collector was handled, I have my nitpicks with.
I found it more amusing than anything else. And also like Kikimora just not being there, Boscha not being there's like none of that. there's a few there were a few things that get an unusual amount of screen time in the last episode that don't really amount to anything. This episode confirms for me above all else that Rain was unfortunately a very pointless character.
Yeah, I didn't really like the Rain stuff in this episode too, which is a shame because I you know, I told you this in our chat before the stream, Tom, that like Rain is a character I really wanted to like. I tried so hard. I tried so hard to like Rain for so long, and I was defending
so far.
I was defending Rain for the longest time too. I mean, like I remember in our discussions, like when you had your criticisms with Rain and their character at first, you know, I felt really defensive. I was like, you know, I really like Rain. I really like what they're trying to do here. I like the romance plot with Ida. And then I don't know if it was just the way it was written just made me like lose interest or what. But I just feel like Rain as a character could have just been handled so much better, and I really wish I liked them more, but I have to acknowledge that I just don't really care about them.
I gave you an analog of Buffy and Giles, which I think at least better communicated the issue I had with Rain in terms of their place in the story. I didn't have a huge amount of issue with what they did with Rain in this episode necessarily. I think Rain is most fun when they're on their own or when they're working with Darius.
Right.
with whom they have so much more romantic chemistry.
Yeah, right. I was joking about this in our chat, Tom, but we were complaining about how there wasn't enough Ida and Camila in that for our satisfaction, and I made a joke that was like, if they had given us more screen time with Ida and Camila, then they would have had to admit that Ida and Camila is the superior ship, therefore also making Rain and Darius the superior ship.
And I think we can, I mean, it's mentioned in the chat the Coven heads ended up being pointless in the end. I mean, I don't know, kind of, they served their point to Belos.
Yeah, I feel like they served their purpose.
There's lots of stuff that you could probably look back on and go, oh, that didn't go anywhere. That stuff really was the cut. Like, that stuff was 100% the cut. There are certain things with the last episode that I look at and I'm like, I can't blame the cut entirely for this. I think it could have been written better.
Yes, yeah.
Things not coming to fruition in this episode, I'm not going to hold against the writers, because a lot of it really is just like, if the cut hadn't happened.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
We would probably have had the answer to that. They somehow found a way to have a happy ending without it feeling like saccharine.
Yeah.
And moreover, satisfying some of Dana Terrace's more like morose sensibilities. So technically, Luce does die.
Technically. Yeah, technically she kind of died. Yeah.
But also, like, Belos' death was hilariously grim.
I loved it. I thought that was amazing and perfect.
It was so funny.
It was like, incredibly funny, but like in the most like you said, grim and morose, and just like
it was very like then perish. Like looking
down
on
it. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Oh my gosh. I love that he stayed a like manipulative, whiny little pathetic piss man, like right until the very end. Like that was like basically like the second, like the third act of this special to me was like perfect. Like I like once we got kind of past the collector stuff, I was like, everything about this is great. I absolutely
and I still liked the collector stuff. I love the collector.
Yes.
I liked the whole process of the collector learning.
Yes.
And the ultimate nail in the coffin being learning what death actually is, and learning
that
actions have consequences, and
absolutely.
I was a fan of that. I liked the Dark Souls aesthetic of Belos turning the land into horrible, nasty, scrungly, gross
his
crap.
Goop his goop getting everywhere.
Getting his fucking mouth jizz all over the place.
Oh no, why did you say that? A couple folks in the chat have asked us to rank these episodes, these 3 episodes of season 3.
Okay.
Definitely number 2 is at the bottom for me. I feel like that's really easy to say. The other 2, number 1 and number 3, though, it's hard for me to say right now because I'm still kind of emotionally reeling from number 3.
I was talking to Ed about this earlier. Ed's come down to visit, which has been nice. We actually watched the episode together.
Oh, that's nice.
And we were talking about this, and I mentioned to him how like the first special was the only one that felt like a special.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Like I feel like again, I don't want to harp on the writers too much. I really loved this ending. And like, what the fuck do I know? But like, if it were me, this is purely hypothetical. If it were me, I would have approached every episode so that they felt more like an individual special, like movies in a trilogy. Which, as it stands, they don't. The first one is the odd one out.
I feel like the first one felt the most like a special because it was the setting was so different, right? Like we were in the human realm and it felt like very out of the ordinary for the series. Whereas coming back to the Boiling Isles, it felt like we were a little bit returning to the status quo, which maybe contributed to that feeling a little bit. At least that's kind of how I feel about it.
I agree with that sentiment. And when that first special aired, I really felt like, oh, they're going to do it like the Berserk Golden Age movies. And then they kind of didn't. But at the same time, even though I feel like structurally and everything, you can look at that first special and say that's probably technically the best of the three. I have the least issues with that special.
The first one, yeah.
I can't I I can't deny the raw emotional impact that the last special had.
That's the thing. Like the time skip, the whole time skip sequence really got me in the feels, like really hit me hard. So it's
honestly, like, I'm not even thinking about the time skip. The scene for me, it's still playing on repeat in my head, is when Luce just like rips Bellows out of the Titan's heart.
That was my favorite. That was probably my favorite moment in like all three of the specials.
And they do another callback to the first episode.
Now eat this, sucker!
Now eat this, sucker! Just like ripping him out. It's so so good. I was just like smiling uncontrollably.
Yes, I love that moment so much. And this sequence too, like this the animation, like this freaking frame. I wanted to screenshot this frame the first time I watched it because it's so amazing, like the color and like the way that she rips him out of the. I have so much to say about this moment too, and like when we actually start like analyzing the episode and like going through scene by scene, I'm gonna have a lot to say about this scene because I had so many thoughts and I had so many feelings when we got to the scene. But yeah, this is probably my favorite moment in like all three of the specials. So in that sense, it's really hard for me to rank them because yeah, like you said, the raw emotional impact of this episode, it's hard for me to compare that to the first special, which, as you said, like felt a little bit more like a special, had that kind of unique feeling to it with the setting being different. And yeah, I don't know, it's hard for me to rank them, but I love this moment so much.
I kind of thematically, I very much liked what this episode did to explore actually some of the moral depths of that idea of like, if I let this guy die, if I kill him, does that make me as bad as him?
And the answer is fuck no.
The answer is obviously no. Like, you speaking to the Titan and the Titan be like, what the fuck are you talking about? This guy's like a fascist.
Yes, exactly.
No, he's crazy. He needs to go down. And just they even have that moment where Bellows is like, if you let me die, you're just as bad as those witches, you know. And they're like, yeah, and
yeah.
And then they all just kick his ass to death. Like, oh, I got a little Bellows on my foot.
That was so fucking good. That was like perfect. The little goof on his foot, yeah.
I did also find it sad and funny that Disney had to do one last final fuck you to Dana Terrace by like ruining the ending by like cropping it into a tiny frame so they could advertise whatever else was coming up next on YouTube and on the YouTube upload of it.
Oh,
just as all the characters are saying farewell to you and they just like shovel it into a tiny bit in the corner.
Right. Yeah.
Don't do that. But they had to fuck over Dana Terrace one final time.
Yeah.
Just a reminder who's boss.
We've had a couple we had a couple folks in the chat talk a little bit about Titan Luz and the design and how awesome it is. And Bort says how cool the Anime Powers design is with the Azura outfit, but it's darker colors because it's loose and it's not just a copy of Azura. I really like that interpretation. That's really cool. And yeah, I just thought it was a really, really fun, really cool design, right? Like the dark eyes are so cool. The bones, right? Like on the outfit, right, are so cool, and the glyphs are so cool. Yeah, I thought that her Titan design was really awesome.
If only they just killed him ages ago.
Right?
Someone just shot him.
They should have just shot him with a gun. That meme that's like the owl house of Luz had a gun.
I don't feel like Luz would have used a gun. I feel like Ida would have used
Ida would have used the gun. Absolutely, 100%.
If Ida had, like, in her escapades in the human realm, come across a Glock. It's a loaded block, and it's like, oh damn, I feel like this come in handy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh my gosh, yeah. Do we have any other kind of like first impressions things that we want to talk about, or do we want to just kind of get into the scene by scene of it?
I'm happy to just get into it.
Let's get into it. We've been kind of preambling for a bit. Let's get into it properly. So, yeah, totally. So we like you said, the beginning was a bit weird as we started off like right as where we left off in the last special, right? So everyone gets scooped up by the collector and picked up by the collector, right? And gets collected, as they say. And then we spend a little bit more time in this in-between realm, and we get one more little hint as to who, you know, that person in the in-between realm is. And let me just say, I freaking love King's dad. Like, for a character that has so little screen time, I feel like they made him so lovable and so likable and so endearing, but still like a little complex, right? Still a little three-dimensional. Like he's got his flaws. So I really think the way that they wrote that character was what really well done.
Dressed like fucking the dude with the dressing gown, the bathrobe.
Yes, his outfit is like literally what I wear on a day-to-day basis. Oh my gosh. Also, can we talk about the hoodie
poking out of the eye?
Should we talk about this now?
Okay, I kind of wonder. This is just what I wonder. The hoodie poking out of the eye. Obviously, this Titan, Papa Titan, I will call him.
Yes.
Scales himself down for Lucy's benefit. So you got this tiny little hoodie poking out of the eye. It makes me wonder if like every Titan had a hoodie, as a
right? Yeah.
Of some kind. And that's not our hoodie. That's his hoodie. And our hoodie is just a different hoodie.
Of a different Titan,
of a different Titan. I don't know. Toon had mentioned our hoodie actually being King's hoodie, but like.
But is that how that works?
Is that how that works? I don't know. Do they grow a hoodie like a tapeworm? Do Titans just like develop a hoodie at some point in their life, and it's like going through puberty? And it's like, look, we all go through it. We all develop a hoodie at some point in our lives. And all you have to hope for is that your hoodie is like fun to hang around with and not a total psychopath.
Oh my god.
Voiced by Alex Hirsch.
Oh my god, I'm literally crying. Wait, stop. Wait, stop. You just dropped a really big hint right there. Both Hootie and King are voiced by Alex Hirsch. There's a connection there.
I don't know if that was intentional.
Confirmed. Hootie is King. Confirmed.
Hootie is King's tapeworm. Confirmed.
Oh my god, I'm literally crying. No.
I am still bummed that Hootie didn't have any lines in this episode.
You have to understand how much I absolutely love this, though. Like, I saw some people like complaining about this on Twitter. They were like, "Wait, they're just gonna like put Hootie in the Titan's eye and like not even explain it or address it. Like, why are they not explaining the Hootie lore? Like, I have so many questions." And I'm like, I love that they didn't explain any of this. Like, that is the funniest thing that they could have done, is just given us one more big WTF is up with Hootie moment and like just not address it or explain it or acknowledge it whatsoever. That is literally the funniest thing that they could have done, and I absolutely love that. Like, this, I have so many questions. I have so many freaking questions.
But also, you'll have noticed that the Titan's eye is the same as the eye on the door.
On the door, yeah, that's true.
God,
God.
I mean, you know how when the creators of Avatar explained why Toph didn't face off against Firelord Ozai, it's because she would have won the fight in 5 minutes. That was their explanation for that. But like, we couldn't do that. It wouldn't have been satisfying to watch.
Exactly.
I feel like that's the same rationale as to why Hootie was not really in any of this, because Hootie could easily have killed Bellows.
Oh yeah.
They had to get Hootie out of the way soon.
Absolutely.
In a rational way.
He's too
Hootie
OP.
is too powerful.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Hootie's just too powerful. I have so many questions about Hootie, and I love that they'll never get answered.
I mean, they might do. We don't know. I do
I
feel
hope
like
they
so
don't.
many things was set up for a sequel series, to be honest.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, there are definitely hints as to more to come, right? That's for sure.
Because it's not impossible. You know, Steven Universe got cancelled.
Exactly. And hey, you know, everyone has been talking about how much Steven Universe is being like watched right now. It's like always every week for the past month or something like that in the top 10 or top 5 HBO shows or whatever. So it's like, hey, Steven Universe is still really popular and still could come back.
Not that it would need to.
No.
But it did still come back. It did come back with Future. So we kind of want to see that. Maybe like a limited series, just touch base with the characters.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I like Sirius's message in the chat here. Retroactively explains why Bellows had a hard time with the glyphs, the Titan dad legitimately hiding. Yeah, right. Like figuring out that the Titan was alive and like sentient, right, the whole time, and intentionally showing Luce the glyphs and intentionally not showing Bellows the glyphs is really interesting.
Well, Bellows is a fucking piss boy, so
he's a pissman. We've established that.
Hans Pissman.
What does this remind me of? The pit with all the petrified Boiling Isles people. I feel like this reminds me of something. It like evokes some
your
thing.
Nightmares.
I don't know. I don't know what this reminds me of, but it reminds me of something. Maybe I'll figure it out next
American
week.
Pie 2?
Maybe. Yeah, so we kind of already talked about this, where I felt like this beginning sequence kind of went a little too long, in my opinion. We kind of went over Luce's guilt and her feeling like was responsible for everything already. I feel like in the first 2 specials, and we kind of rounded out that arc with our talk with Camila in the last episode, and our palisman hatching and everything. So yeah, I felt like we were a little bit treading old ground with the Luce nightmare sequence here. But I did really like the Ida and King nightmare sequence. I thought that was really really nice to see, especially since we haven't really been in these characters' heads for so long, right? Especially, in the first 2 specials, we were really following Luce and the gang, right? The Hexide gang. And so getting these kind of intimate moments with with Ida and King getting in their head, because we really haven't gotten their like reaction to everything up until this point. So I really like these sequences.
There was one bit with Ida's nightmare that did make me laugh. I don't know if I like to think it was intentional. I like to think it was kind of a morbid joke on Dana Terrace's part, or whoever wrote the scene. Alan Moore is known to do that. Like, his stories can be very morose, but he'll have a bit of a grim sense of humor in there. It's when her dad comes out missing another eye. Like what the fuck, dude?
Was he missing another eye? Is that what it was?
Yeah, she took out his other eye. He's like, I forgave you. Come on.
Oh, is that what that was? I see.
But I just found it kind of funny. Like, not the other eye.
I see. If that's how that scene was supposed to mean, that is kind of a dark, twisted joke. But
like, of all the other she could have gone for any other body part, but she went for the eye. It's like, come on.
Got it. Okay, I see that. That's what that.
You took my depth perception, and now you're taking my everything perception.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That is what it is, because the scar is the first scar is already on this eye. So that's 100% what that means. I thought like we were just retreading the guilt of the first incident, but no, it's supposed to be like, you did my other eye now. Oh my gosh, I didn't even.
Come on, dude.
Make that connection, but you're totally 100% right.
And like, knowing that this is all fabricated by a child kind of makes me feel like it's a bit of a
yes,
joke.
That is 100%. Yes, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. But I also there's kind of a lot of little things about this scene too that I like, right? Like the fact that Lilith is kind of in her in between design, right? Like her hair is not red yet, but she's still got her newer design. And then yeah, I forgave you, but you took out my other eye now. Yeah, that's funny. That is funny.
Yeah.
And this one was kind of interesting to me, the king sequence, right? Because we're back on the Titan Trapper Island. We're with the skulls, and then we see Bill, the Titan Trapper, right? And King is like looking around at all the skulls. I wanted to show you my collection. Don't you recognize your siblings? But don't worry, we saved the best spot for you. Like it got me kind of thinking, right? Because Luce's sequence in this part was kind of about guilt, and Ida's sequence was also about guilt, right? So it kind of got me thinking about, like, does King feel like guilty about this? Like, does King like have some survivor's guilt, I wonder? Which is just kind of interesting to me. I don't know, what do you think?
I hadn't thought about it in that way. I think
Maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but
I don't think you're thinking too much about it now. I don't think that's necessarily it. I think King's arc is mostly focused on his feeling of like loneliness
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and oneness in the world as like the only surviving Titan.
Because we find out, like, after this whole sequence and we go back to the Collector, we find out that the Collector's intention is, like, he's trying to teach these three a lesson of some kind. Obviously, he like doesn't really understand or know what kind of lesson he's trying to teach them. And he's just being manipulated by Bellows, right? With like Bellows is trying to torture them, right? So,
I mean, he's just a scrumbly scrimblow.
he's just
So,
a scrimblow. We've established that. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting that like we kind of focus on guilt for these other two characters, and if King might have a little bit of survivor's guilt, because we also talked about the Titan extinction a little bit in this episode too, right? So I don't know, just something I thought about.
oh yeah, that's another thing. Another tiny thing I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see the Collector in the time skip.
Yeah, we got like a hint that they were there, but we
You
didn't
got an
actually
essence
see.
of Collector.
Yeah, we didn't actually see the Collector in the time skip.
But alas.
I like though that like there was so much that kind of called back to the first two seasons, right? Like this part with Willow obviously is really evocative and harkens back to the Understanding Willow episode from season 1. So I really like that, because I do think that the intention of this first sequence with Luz is to show us how far she's come.
Yeah, they do a lot of I don't want to call it nostalgia bait because that's not fair. I'm going to call it fan service, but I mean that in the most loving way.
The good kind, yeah.
As a fan, I did feel serviced.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Mostly in the form of them like revisiting some of their places and moments of note with King, and sort of bringing those brain Polaroids back into it, which was a nice kind of Chekhov's gun, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, that was nice. I liked that. That was nice. Did anyone else notice that they used he, him, and they, them for the Collector? Yeah, I did notice that. That was really cool. This was sad, right? Seeing Hunter continue to be sad about Flapjack, right? Why do you still have your talisman? It's not fair. All your friends hate you now, Luce. For the sake of everyone you hurt, I challenge you to a witch's battle. And there's our clue that something is off, right? I did like that was the clue, right? It's like something that only like Luce and Amity, the two of them, would really like notice, right? That one word was off. So I liked that. That was clever.
That fool Collector had not brushed up.
The Collector is not he's a fake Azura fan.
Fake Azura fan confirmed.
Confirmed.
Absolutely gonna roast them on Reddit.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, and like, you know, we kind of complained about like the first two specials a little bit, like with Luz's kind of guilt arc. There were times where we felt like we kind of lost Luz as a character a little bit. That was one of our criticisms of the first two specials. I didn't feel that in this special at all. This especially this moment where, you know, she's kind of like pointing and wagging her finger at Amity, like that was like, this feels like Luz to me. Like this is our Babby Luz right here. I absolutely adored this moment so much.
Our squishy, scrimbly little spoingle.
Yes, our Spoingle. Amity, I know, would never misquote Azura. I thought that was fun.
Imagine I'm actually a hallucination from an elder god.
Exactly. And then, you know, everyone kind of becomes lucid for a moment, and you know, if I could have one more little nitpick again in this episode, and this isn't even really like a criticism, this is just sort of something I thought was that kind of just kind of took me out of it for a moment, I guess, is kind of the best way I could say it. But you know, Luz is like, how the heck do I get out of this, right? And then we get kind of this dramatic, cryptic, like, what's the first thing you do when you wake up from a bad dream? You turn on the light. Like, I just thought that was a little corny, but it's not like a big thing.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up from a bad dream? Lie there for a bit and like console myself that it's not real.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
go back to sleep.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Turn over on my side, turn on my phone, and open Twitter, and immediately start doom scrolling. That's what I do when I wake up first thing in the morning. I don't think that would help me against the collector, though.
Be disappointed but not surprised that I didn't perish in my sleep.
No.
Does that count?
Yeah, so I thought that was a little corny, but it was fun. It was fun. How did Amity know the light would work? That's a good question. So there was a couple things in this special where I was definitely like, you can't think too hard about it. You just have to kind of accept it's the finale and like go with it. And that was kind of one of those things where it's like, how did Amity know the light would work? I was like, it's the finale. Just roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind. Just whatever.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked. And then we see, you know, the collector is using the puppets to kind of torture Ida and King and trap them in their nightmares. They use the light glyph to pull them out of it, which I liked. And we get our reunion finally, right? But yeah, like we said already, it would have been nice to have the reunion in the last episode before we got captured and get that Ida and Camila moment as well. That would have been nice. I guess the benefit of having the reunion here now is that it is just our three main characters. Like, we don't have like all the other side characters to kind of like get in the way of this reunion.
I just wanted more Ida and Camila.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I wanted them together. I wanted them to flirt. I wanted them to get married.
Yeah, I ship Ida and Camila. I really like that ship.
But alas, that ship has sailed.
It has sailed. So yeah, turns out that Bellos was manipulating the collector into doing the torture thing. And I really one thing I did really like about this scene, you know, is I have my complaints about the collector stuff and the rain stuff, definitely, but one thing I really liked about this scene was the continued use of the Francois prop, because, you know, I talked a little bit last time about how Francois as the symbol, because it was gifted to the collector by King, but because it's like this object of trust, right? Like, oh, you can have Francois near you, but like, don't hold him because he is like this special thing to me that only Luz can hold, right? So like, Francois in a way like represents this trust that the collector has with King, but this like caution, this what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not like this cautionary trust, right? Like, not full trust. Like, I appreciate you giving me this thing to comfort me, but like I know that it also kind of represents this wedge between us because you won't let me hold it because it's special to you and Luz, right? So
It's conditional.
yeah. So I just like that we're continuing to kind of focus on Francois in this scene because it kind of represents that schism that is there between Luce and King and the Collector. I don't know. Again, I'm reading too much into these things, but I that was one thing I really liked about it.
But also, I feel like Francois ends up becoming somewhat symbolic of King's maturation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because in the end, it's like I don't need this anymore, but the Collector does.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
May it aid them in some nebulous way.
Yes. So it turns out that Bellos is an idiot and like doesn't know anything about anything.
Wow, Bellows is an idiot, confirmed, not
Like,
clickbait.
literally confirmed. So the Collector says my powers don't work on King, and Bellos is like the dog, and the Collector's like, yeah, because he's a Titan. And Bellos is like just putting two and two together.
Bellows, more like Bell End.
Literally, more like Bellend. And the Collector is like, come on, Rain, you were in the castle and you saw that beating heart. It's still beating. Titans are amazing, right? And so like we literally got confirmation here, right, that the Titan.
Okay, but like, is it that much of a stretch to believe that a hardline puritanical Christian might actually kind of be an idiot?
No, I think that that's totally believable, and that's actually one thing that I really liked about it is the fact that like one of Bellos's greatest flaws is just that he's an idiot, right? And he like doesn't understand how things work. Like he's so like stubborn in his worldview that like he kind of refuses to see outside of it and learn new things, right? Like that's very in line with his character. So that's not a complaint to say that Bellos is being an idiot here. That's definitely a plus to me. I think that is really fitting with his character. The fact that he didn't think about it at all, and the fact that the Titan heart was there the whole time since the beginning of season 1, and Bellos could have gooped it up literally at any point in time and could have skipped this entire ordeal, right? Like I think that kind of critical flaw of his is like brilliant villain writing. Like Bellos is probably one of my favorite Disney villains. Just period.
For being
like
a huge asshole.
Yeah, for being a huge Christian fascist asshole. Like I think that he's a really brilliantly written villain, and I think like I saw I don't know, like I don't think I think this makes sense that he just like wouldn't make the connection and just like wouldn't think about it until the Collector told him.
The thing is that being a puritanical Christian also relies on taking certain things at face value.
Exactly. Absolutely. And then this plants the idea in his head that he's gonna go goop it up and take over the Titan.
I liked the fight between him and Rain. I thought it was fun. I liked the just like the sheer desperation of it.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't like that as much, but I think it's fair that you liked it.
I just thought it was neat.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funky.
Yeah. Bellows continuing to manipulate the Collector, being like, "Oh, I have an idea, but maybe it wouldn't work," right? And the Collector being like, "No, what is it? I want to do it," right? Like just slimy manipulation continuing on Bellos's part. He knocks over Francois, right? Again, just that symbol. He knocks Francois over to get to what is in the drawer. Which I will have more to say about once I think about it more, but I feel like that's just a powerful image to me. And then he grabs the star to fly over to the castle,
as we have all done at some point in our lives.
As we've all done. I do love the idea of the hero inadvertently helping the villain become the villain, and I thought that they did that really well in the show. Yes, definitely. I really like that as well. Here's my other biggest nitpick, and this should show you how much I liked the special to the point that I thought that this was a nitpick to me. The fact that Kikimura was even mentioned. I feel like she should not have been mentioned at all in the special. Because we get this moment here where they're reuniting, and I'm so glad that we got a moment, right? Like we got a moment of just like getting to catch up between our characters before we like jump back into the action. But Luz is like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like we had to fight Bellows in the first special, and then we had to fight Kikimura in the second special, right? But it was a little funny to me that like Bellows and Kikimura were kind of like on the same level in this scene, and I was like, Kikimura should not have even been mentioned. Fuck you.
Unless she was mentioned as Kiki Miki.
Yeah, if they had said Kiki Miki, I would have forgiven it.
And it would have been absolutely fine.
Exactly.
Encouraged even.
Yeah, that's true too. They at least had the restraint not to have her in the actual episode, which I'm definitely glad about, but she shouldn't have even been mentioned. I was annoyed by that.
Poor Kiki Miki. Pathetic until the very end.
Literally. And then Luz notices Ida's arm and is like, what the heck? How did that happen? And Ida's like, that's a shorter story. Which is classic Ida, right? I really loved that. That was fun.
Oh yeah, no robot arm by the end.
Yeah, no robot arm, which is sad.
Rest in spaghetti me. I was really hoping for a robot arm.
Yeah, that would have been like a fun design. We finally get the string bean meeting, which is very cute. The Albert and the string bean meeting was very, very cute. It definitely was very adorable. Yeah. Okay. And then they get joined by the collector, right? The collector comes in and is like, "All right, y'all, this is not working, right?" And we learned a couple important things about the collector in this scene. We kind of reaffirm, right, that the collector's intentions are not necessarily bad. Like he literally just wants to be friends with all of them. Were you saying
True.
something?
Ida does get a pirate arm. That's true. Pirate arm is like fine. I'm okay with a pirate arm.
Does she get the pirate arm? I missed that.
You get the little pirate arm with a hook.
Gotcha. And then Ida brings up the draining spell, and this is where we kind of get an important piece of information about the collector, right? King is like, it's not fun to control and scare people. People nearly died in the draining spell, and the collector says, so what? Toys break all the time. You just fix them, right? And he demonstrates with one of his dolls, and Luz is like, do you not understand what death means to mortals? And this is interesting to me, right? Because we know that the collector feels bad about. So does that mean the Titans are alive? I guess I'm still processing this, right? So I guess that means that the Titans that we get a little bit more of the collector backstory and the archivist backstory in this episode too, right? So I guess the Titans are technically still alive because they've been archived, right? Like the collector's whole deal and like the deal of their species is that they collect and archive living things in order to kind of preserve them, right? In this like,
I've been thinking about that actually. I've been thinking about the archivist. One of my favorite things with modern fantasy is when it will approach modern fantasy with a distinctly modern sensibility and will do something really weird and unique with it. So a great example of that would be Hilda with the elves. It's like, why don't we just make the elves just a race of bureaucrats? And they love bureaucracy. They just love it so much. Their entire culture is centered around bureaucracy. I really love the idea of like, we've met the collector, and the collector is just a scrimbly little scrambler.
Yeah.
A little stink. But like, I like the idea of the archivist just being the most boring, like cubicle dwelling,
yes,
nothing people. who just like wander around an interdimensional archive all day, just like bored and
Yeah.
vacuous and just like flicking through files like, hey, Tony, can you get me that file on my desk by Tuesday morning?
Yes.
Hang on a second, Carl. And he just pulls out this like in Bruce Almighty, pulling out like a filing unit that just goes on forever and just flicking through it. It's like, give me a while, give me a bit.
Yes.
Like a 1,
100%.
2.
It's like that scene in The Good Place where they go up to like the people who assign the numbers to things, and they're all just like a bunch of office people in cubicles.
Just as like boring and empty as possible. Like they've been the archivists for so long, their personality has been drained from their
Yeah.
lifeless eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the collector is like the only one that like has any kind of like
Any personality.
any youth or personality. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. So I guess the Titans are technically still alive, but they're archived, right? So like I guess archive is kind of this like semi death state, right? Where you're kind of like in limbo. But yeah, I don't know. That's just my headcanon.
Maybe it's worse.
Maybe it's worse.
Maybe they're stuck in a filing unit.
There's an episode of Angel that we'll get to eventually. That's like later in season 5, where a villain, they try to live forever essentially, and the punishment they end up getting by the end of it is they get like locked into this like Hannibal Lecter like prison and like locked in there forever, and he's like immortal or something, right? So he like can't die, but he's like trapped there forever, and so it's like a fate worse than death, right? Because you're just like trapped in this in-between state forever and not able to move or do anything. So that's what I imagine being archived is like, I guess.
Sat around wanking and crying.
No, stop. All right, so yeah, the collector doesn't understand death, right? He doesn't understand that death to mortals is permanent and people can't just be fixed right back up again, which also like, you know, begs the question like how mortal / immortal is the collector's species, right? Like do they just like never, well, like, did the collectors get killed by the Titans? I don't know. Like I guess I don't know. That's my question.
I don't know.
The collector says it's time for me to show you some of my favorite games, which is fun. Meanwhile, we get Rain versus Goop, the continuing saga.
Rain versus Goop 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like the Rain stuff, maybe it went on a little long. I know you said that you liked it.
I just thought it was neat. I like fight scenes that are neat. I like the desperation. I like the Despacito.
Yeah, the Despacito.
OMG, that's so sad. Alexa, play Despacito.
One little detail that I noticed, which I personally thought was hilarious, was the fact that we get this line from Bellows where he says, "Ugh, Rain's always been annoyingly powerful," and I thought this was so funny to me because they would never have the villain like misgender, because like obviously Ray, like Bellows would never use they them pronouns. That's just,
of course
he would never do that, right? But at the same time, like we've shown that Bellows is evil, but we don't want to show that Bellows is evil because he's transphobic, right? Like that's not why he's evil. So I like that we just get this moment where he's like, Rain's always been powerful. Like he would never say they them, but he also can't necessarily misgender Rain, so we just get a name instead of pronouns, which I think is just really funny to me.
It would have been even funnier if he just said that's a spicy meatball, and no one, that's never explained, just kind of happens. What?
Yeah. And again, you know, I talked about this a little bit in the last special too, where it's like, you know, why did Bellows go into Rain other than to give that audience like reaction of like, oh no, my beloved Rain has gotten possessed by the Goop Man, you know, like to me, like in the second special, that felt a little cheap. But one way that I justified it to myself was that it at least somewhat thematically made sense a little bit with Rain's character arc, because it kind of called back to the fact that Rain has always been working from the inside to take down Bellows, and now Bellows is working from the inside to take down Rain, right? Like in this kind of reversal. So in that way, I kind of justified it to myself, and I liked it in that way. And it kind of made that moment a little bit more than just shock factor for an audience reaction. So in that sense, I do like the fight and the struggle between Rain and Bellows. Like, I feel like this is something that we've like seen from Rain since their introduction, you know, in season 2, as we've like gotten to see how they have been trying to fight Bellows from the inside, and how that's just like the way that they have chosen to fight the system, you know, versus the way that Ida has chosen to fight the system, which is from the outside, right? Like totally rejecting it and like doing her own thing and like rebelling against everything. So in that way, I did kind of like that we called back to it, but I don't know, like it just felt like it went on a little bit too long for me. And especially because there were a couple moments in this special where it felt like this is kind of being done for the drama, and the fight between Rain and Bellows was kind of one of those things. And maybe that's a nitpick, but and it's totally fine if other people like it. You're not wrong for liking it, but that was just my little complaint about it, I guess.
That's fair enough.
That's all that I have to say about that. But I did think that it was just funny that we didn't get Bellows misgendering Rain, but Rain would also, or sorry, Bellows would also never use Rain's they them pronouns, which is just funny.
Well, that's because Bellows is a bellend.
He's a bellend. He's a transphobe.
He's a fucking fascist.
He's a fascist. He's a Christo-fascist prick bellend. I did really like this though, the fact that Amity was able to kind of move her finger a little bit and was able to do it enough to scratch out the light glyph and free herself. That I thought was really cool. That was very neat.
It feels trying to wake up from sleep paralysis.
Oh yeah, right. Oh my gosh. I see what you mean with the Rain Bellows bit, but I think you did need a bit more excitement in that sequence of having Bellows go for the heart. No, yeah, I agree with that tune, but that's kind of what I mean. That like it felt like the purpose of the Rain Bellows fight was to kind of amp up that drama of like, oh, can we stop Bellows from getting to the heart, like that, and like that kind of felt a little contrived to me. But I don't think it's wrong to have that there. Like it definitely needed some sort of tension in order to ramp up that tension, right, of like, is Bellows gonna get to the heart? But it felt a little contrived. That's kind of just my nitpick.
So you're saying it needed tension to ramp up the tension?
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
I'm fine with it. I thought it was neat.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. This was fun, right? This little montage sequence with the collector playing their games, and it's kind of, you know, reminiscent of games that we're familiar with, but with a little bit more of a dangerous edge to it, right? So we get this little Pac-Man sequence with Rain with Ida and King and Luce flying away from the giant collector Pac-Man.
I love the little collector Pac-Man face. It's so cute.
It's so cute.
Just doing a little chompy.
His big old mouth. And then, of course, String Bean does a little poke.
Just does a little poke.
A little poke.
Pokey.
And then the collector turns them all into Super Monkey Ball and plays marbles with them, which is fun. I thought this was fun. And, you know, the music in this sequence was really fun. I really love the collector's theme. It's one of my favorite tracks in the show.
It's so good.
It's really good.
It's unnecessarily good.
Yeah, it's super fun.
I just love the collector's little face. I want to squish it.
Yeah, a little scrimblow.
Scrunkly.
It's a little scrunkly. And then we get the giant thing of Jenga with the collector, pulling out the Jenga pieces and the tower toppling, and of course it's giant, and so it's gonna crush them. But
Can you
we knock
imagine
it.
if like Battle Jenga were a thing where the aim of the game was not to take a block out without knocking down the tower, but was instead to take a block out to purposefully knock down the tower onto your opponent? Which is what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Tune says, "Can I point out that the thing String Bean does with her tail is the only shifting she does in this whole special? Yeah, that's a shame. She
So
could have done more."
Could have shape shifted into I don't know, a fucking a mug. Into a gaming mouse and keyboard. I don't know.
A mechanical keyboard, yeah.
An ergonomic management keyboard.
Yes.
And
just
then like completely for no reason as well. Like there's nothing that doesn't call for it. It's like, oh, by the way, everybody, please observe.
Yes,
String being
exactly.
transforming into an ergonomic management keyboard. And then they all look at it and go, oh yeah, very ergonomic.
Very practical, yeah.
In the middle of a really dramatic dialogue as well. It's
Yeah,
completely shoehorned in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And then King, is like, if anyone can talk some sense into them, it's Luz, right? So then we get that little them pronouns, which is nice.
We take it.
We take it. I'll take it. Actually, just for a moment, if we could just acknowledge, right? Like, the Owl House is ending. It's over. This is the end now. And so I just want to take a moment to just acknowledge and appreciate, like, just the impact the show has had on modern culture. I mean, I feel like this gets talked about, but it really, I feel, in my opinion, can't be overstated enough, just like how much of an impact the show has had for queer representation and for just like the for just moving things forward in that way, right? I mean, we've talked a little bit about how, right, like Steven Universe and She-Ra and Korra, right, like all of those shows sort of opened these doors and kind of set the groundwork for shows like the Owl House to exist and be so unapologetically queer and just so casual about it too, right? Like just using they them pronouns and like not having it be an issue whatsoever, and having like a bisexual main character who has a coming out scene that like is so short and irrelevant to the plot, but like it's such a crucial part of who she is, and such a crucial part of the character and the story as well. The queerness is so essential to the story as well, right? And so I just want to take a moment to acknowledge like how impactful the show has been and how important the show has been in that way too. And despite it getting cut short tragically, unceremoniously, I think that the show is still such like an important one to consider, just like in the cultural sense, and how much it has moved things forward, and how big of an impact it has in that way. So just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that as we appreciate the finale and the show for what it is.
It makes it all the sadder to me that there doesn't feel like there's anything similar in nature to immediately replace it.
Yeah.
Not like replace it, but like carry the torch, if you will, because it felt like, not necessarily on the queer front, but like it felt like the Owl House came along as it's sort of like midway through Amphibia.
Mm.
And so like as Amphibia was ending, there was that feeling of like, okay, so the Owl House is going to become like the flagship show for Disney,
Right.
which it kind of did in many ways. Like even if they canceled, it was still like enormously popular.
Right.
But like especially on a queer front, it doesn't feel like there's anything immediately to step in.
Yeah, that's really a shame, huh?
I hope to see some of that in Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, because Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a fucking great show so far. In addition to the fact that it has actually done a very good job of looking at certain social concepts, like race, particularly, and gentrification, stuff like that. I would like to see queerness as well. Yeah, but I don't know. It's like it makes me sad that the show is ending, but it also makes me sad that it doesn't feel like there's anything to immediately fill its shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really a shame because like I really like I think people, especially young people, and like I don't want to generalize, of course, but I really think that a lot of young people, especially if the Owl House is kind of your first like quote unquote fandom, that you're kind of active in, but I think like a lot of people kind of take for granted how big of a deal the queer representation in this show is, right? Like Bort brought up in the chat the wider impact of the Grom dance was insane, and like I'm like if we could just like go back in time for a moment and back to when the Grom episode came out, like, you know, people were shipping Amity and Luce as like this like wild out of the box ship that like no one would have thought would have come to fruition, right? Because at that point in time, like having a same sex couple in the show, especially with the main character, especially like that early in the show too, right? Like, you know, we think about the other shows that I mentioned, you know, She-Ra, Korra, Steven Universe, where like first of all, like Steven Universe wasn't the main character, the queer representation, right? Or like the same-sex relationship representation wasn't the main character. And like with Korra and She-Ra, right, like it didn't come until the very end. So like the fact that this came in the second season of the show, right, was such a huge deal. And like the fact that it was such a huge surprise that like that Grom episode came out and we found out that Amity had this crush on Luz, right? Like that we that was such a huge surprise and such a huge deal when that happened, right? And like that moved things forward so much in terms of representation. And I really like people talk about it, and like especially Twitter talks about it, I feel like, but I really can't overstate how big of a deal that was and like how impactful that was and like how important that was, because like I don't know, like people need to remember that homophobia is like not that long ago. Like it really like
It's not. What do you mean it's not that long? It's still happening.
it's
It's
still and it's still
actively still
happening. It's
happening.
actively still happening. And
It's
yeah,
there's
I don't know.
with this new rhetoric of like grooming and all that crap. And it's like,
Yes, it's awful. It's horrible. But you know, like there's still people talking about like how Lumity is whatever or like blah blah blah, and like I just feel like those people just need to maybe just like take a step back and like look at the bigger picture and like just see how important that like Lumity really is in the grand scheme of things. Like I get the complaints, I get the nitpicks, I get whatever, like, but still, like you have to acknowledge it. You have to give it credit where credit is due. And I really feel like that can't be overstated. No, and like some people will say like, oh, we get it, like, oh, it's a gay relationship, like blah blah blah. But it's like, no, you don't get it. If you're saying that, then you don't get it.
it's like
Like
when I see comments from people being like, "Oh, it doesn't make news when someone you don't come out as straight."
right.
Or something like that, and it's like, no, of course you don't. Of course you
Of
don't.
course you don't. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Of course you don't.
No,
Ah.
100%. 100%. Yeah. The most recent Moon Girl ep does have a significant gay scene. That's cool.
Well,
Um,
I hope so. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur has been fantastic so far.
yeah. I'll probably watch it maybe like so I'm working on an Owl House video right now, so I'm rewatching older episodes. So maybe once I'm done with that, I'll watch Moon Girl. Yeah, where's the beach episode? Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Caretaker, we absolutely needed a beach episode. Even outside of Twitter and Tumblr, the fandom and the Grom dance was on the news almost. Yeah, no, absolutely, Bort. Like, I think, like, you know, I think I spend a lot of time on Twitter and online, so maybe I'm like a little bit too in these spaces of like seeing people in the echo chamber like talking about this stuff. But like, yeah, even for me, sometimes I gotta zoom out and like look at the bigger picture and see the impact that it really had.
Yeah, I think that as much as I love Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, though, um, I how do I put this? I obviously want everything to be unique in nature. Um,
Mhm.
but also I really do feel like the Owl House quite perfectly captured the imaginations of Amphibia fans, particularly because they're so similar in like genre. In execution, they're very different, but
Yeah.
in like genre and just like a general like milieu, it felt like an appropriate. But we can't, it's unrealistic to expect Disney to, to always have a constant stream of Western isekai, but you know, it's what I want, god damn it.
Give me the magical girl isekai stories, am I right?
And I didn't realize Big City Greens had become so popular.
Oh yeah.
Um, but again, Big City Greens is great and I very much like it, but it does not satisfy the itch
It's very different. Yeah.
that that is satisfied by something like the Owl House. But yeah,
Definitely,
I'm just gonna
definitely.
miss the Owl House.
I'm really gonna miss the Owl House.
It represents a very important part of my life as a creative and as an
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like the Owl House really impacted me as a creative as well, right? Like it really obviously doing these streams has been like such a big part of my life since the shows come out and um this channel and everything, but yeah, yeah, I really can't overstate the impact that the show has had on my life as well personally. It's great. Yeah. Surely the
what's
fact
chat doing?
surely the fact that we make such a big deal out of when a character comes out should show how rare it is. Yeah, no, I mean, it is still super rare, right? Like,
It's
I genuinely can't think of an animated coming out scene other
I
than, I mean, there was Dead End, but I don't want to talk about Dead End.
Me
But
neither. It's Yeah, I think it's difficult to necessarily pin down what the unifying rhetoric is of conservatives on that front because yeah, there are conservatives who'll be like, "Oh, everyone's gay now. We don't need more gay."
yep,
And
yep.
they'll be very upset about how much gay there is on television. It's turning all of our children gay and it's turning all of our rabbits gay and everybody's gay. But then there is I like to call them the soft homophobes, where it's always like, I'm not homophobic.
Right.
I'm totally for normalizing homosexuality. But if it's normal, then why do you have to come out? You don't come
Mhm.
out as being straight, and that reeks of them being completely ignorant of
Yes.
anything. It's woke.
Yeah, it's woke, exactly.
Political correctness gone mad. I'm going to poopy my panties and piss my pants, and it's gonna be terrible, and it'll be all the gays' fault.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm. That's exactly what they sound like.
that's exactly what I fucking hate gammons. I see them everywhere. They're everywhere I go. um, yeah, I just,
Yeah, like I really I still see some people and like I guess like the people I'm directing this to are people who are kind of like that soft homophobic or maybe even like people who have good intentions and are just a little bit too insular in the echo chamber and like feel like maybe people are overhyping Lumity or whatever, right? And it's like no, like really just take a step back and like look at the greater cultural impact that this has had um and and
it's
and take the win and take the
and
win.
excuse me, it's extremely important in every way. Like even if we were to just take a step back even further and look at like politics and film in general, you know, the reason that films like Bonnie and Clyde, for example, are still talked about today is because they represent a very important part of film history after the Hays Code was abolished, which was a
Yes.
code of depicting things on screen and what you were and weren't allowed to do. And, people laugh about it now, like the quaintness of like, oh my goodness, Psycho was the first time that a toilet was shown on screen being flushed, which is insane to think about, but it was the beginning of a movement away from like the hyper conservative figureheads behind
Yes.
the distribution
Yes.
of popular media. Like, oh, harumph! Goodness gracious me, we can't possibly have a flashing lavatory on screen. I say no, we mustn't.
I'll just say you're nailing these impressions, Tom. Like, these is exactly
This
what
is what
these
they
people
sound
sound
like.
like.
Everybody at the BBC sitting around a big table going, goodness gracious me, did you see what that Alfred Hitchcock fellow has done? Oh, harumph. Oh, how will I ever enjoy my tea and biscuits now? I'll never be pure again. But then, like, we move beyond that into like the depiction of the police on screen and
Yeah.
the depiction of civil rights on screen, and going through the 1970s and America beginning to become sort of socially conscious of its own shortcomings, and then Reagan
Right.
came along and ruined all of that. Thanks, Reagan.
Right.
Came so close. And like queerness is no different. Like,
Yeah.
it isn't. The difficulty about talking about queerness on screen is that to be gay is not political, but queerness
Yes.
is a political topic because they keep making it political.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. 100%.
And Bort is correct. The BBC do still sound like this today. Oh,
Absolutely.
harumph. Oh, Fauntleroy, whatever will we do? The two cartoon women have kissed
Fucking
on screen.
Fauntleroy.
Goodness me, Fauntleroy. Whatever will we do? How will we explain this to our goats?
Oh my God, Tom, if I ever am blessed with the opportunity to make a TV show or an animated show of some kind, I'm definitely having a conservative news like anchor at some point, like be a character, and I'm absolutely casting you as the voice for that.
Please do. Anyone looking to hire me as a voice actor to play a bigoted English person, please do. Yeah, it's exhausting.
It is, yeah. And I
is,
really just want to just reemphasize the importance of the show and how big of a deal it is, and like how much it's moved things forward. And yeah, and what Bort said in the chat too, like just how important Luce is specifically to me. Like, I definitely resonate with that too. Like, Luce is such an important character to me as well. Like I have seen so much of myself in her, and I acknowledge like how important it is for young people to see a character like that. Like, and I think about like in some ways I'm really jealous, right? Like, I think about how different my upbringing could have been if I had a show like this. Like, if I had this kind of representation, if I like had watched this as a 14-year-old, right? Like, how different my life could have been. And I can only imagine, and I can only kind of grieve that other reality. But like, I'm so grateful that this show exists now, and I'm so glad that kids now have this to look to and to watch and to see themselves into. Like, it's so amazing, and I'm so grateful for sure.
My sibling made a similar comment as we were watching through Steven Universe together. Like,
yeah,
man, I feel like I would have become a much more well-adjusted adult if
absolutely. Like, if I had a show like Steven as a kid, if I had a show like this as a kid, I can only imagine like the kind of impact that these shows are having on kids these days. And I'm so grateful that they exist now. But God damn it, if I have to admit that I'm jealous that I didn't have it when I was younger.
Well, you can't be showing kids this content, of course.
No, you can't. You can't.
Might turn them gay.
It might turn them gay.
Can't be having that.
No.
I think the only rational thing to do, I believe, if you see gay people on a TV program, is to take straight to the internet and post as many bad reviews as possible. That's what rational, clear thinking individuals do.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we can all agree.
Absolutely. So I think we'll probably just do this like next sequence with like the collector's backstory, and then we'll probably wrap it up for today. Does that sound like a good plan?
I don't mind. Honestly, I I still feel like I have so much to say.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely keep going for a little bit. Shall we continue on with the scene though?
Let's continue.
Let's continue. So yeah, the collector's crying and Luce, comes to them and at first they're getting a little like defensive and combatant in the way that kids do. Like, what? Because you know that you'll lose? Like, come on, kid, like give it up.
Actually, speaking of the collector acting like a kid, I did love that bit when the collector was like, "I'm gonna hold my breath for a bazillion
Yes,
years."
that was cute. That was so cute. Also, look how freaking little they are. Look how little.
Just a little friend, just a
He's a little
scrimbly little.
scrimblow. He's
I
so
want to ruffle their
little.
hair and pinch their cheeks.
Yeah, and like this moment you really feel for them, right? Like I just wanted a friend who wouldn't lie to me or trick me. And when considering
Oh,
their
man.
backstory, we know that
Someone's got to introduce the collector to dogs, because dogs are gonna
he
blow
just needs a
the collector's
puppo.
mind. It's like dogs that won't lie to you or betray you. They're everywhere. It's all dogs.
It's yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So this is interesting, right? So we kind of got these hints about the collector's backstory in the last special, through the portraits and the paintings and stuff, but now we get a confirmation of what happened. So the archivists, or what the adult collectors are called. The archivists lied to our Babby collector and said, "Let's play a game. Let's play hide and seek." So this is kind of interesting to me, right? So it seems that the archivists were like, "Oh, we have a job to do." They're the stuffy, boring office people, like you were saying, and they're like, "Oh, this kid is like so annoying, and he wants to play games, and we are boring, old, stuffy archivists. We don't like games, so we're gonna go send him away."
They don't do fun. That's they don't do that here.
Yeah, they don't do that here. Exactly. They were like, go down there to this place and go play with the Titans, right? So it seems that the archivists like were really just trying to like keep the collector busy and like out of the way so that like he would be less annoying and like not bother them. And then like it was through this game that the collector was playing with the Titans uh that I guess the archivist discovered the Titans and like their powers, right? And we're scared of them. So decided to archive them and take them away from uh the collector, right? And so the collector was left with no friends. So yeah, it's definitely sad, right? Getting this kind of backstory and seeing that like even amongst the collectors as the species, right? Like our collector is an outcast and is someone that was rejected, and in that way, right? We're continuing to see those character parallels between the collector and Luce, right? And we get that kind of parallel drawn even more so when we get the next sequence, but that's really what allows Luce to get through to them, right? The fact that they do have these kind of similar character arcs. And so there's one Titan left, which as we know is King's dad, and King's dad mistakenly thought that the collector was the bad guy and hid his egg from me and then trapped me, right? So now we know that egg was our king, and then trapped the collector mistakenly, it seems like. So that I thought was also interesting because that's another kind of theme of the show that we see, right? Like making mistakes and like kind of rectifying our mistakes, and we kind of get that conversation right between King's dad and Luce at the end, right? About like even though we've made these mistakes, like we still have the kind of responsibility to correct them with what we have at this
I
point. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that that whole thing of like it's sort of a rally against absolutism in general. Um
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
abs Absolutism sort of being the defining features of Puritanism,
Yes. Yes.
um where simply cannot draw things in those broad strokes.
Definitely.
You know, it's not like you're keeping a tally of things that you do, and one mistake, that's it. You're the bad guy now.
Yeah.
Fucked it up. You know, but it is also interesting to me, that whole thing of like, you know, you can always extend the long arm of peace and love and honesty and kindness. It is not your fault if they don't accept it.
Yes, I
It's
really
not a
like that.
mistake to do that, right?
Yes, I
Like
love that.
Luce, the quote unquote mistake she made was extending that long arm of love and peace and kindness to Philip Whitbane, which is what friggin' Scrunkly Scrimblow does at the end.
Exactly,
And they all,
exactly.
like, the look on their face looking up, like, oh shit.
Yes.
Oh fuck.
I
I
love that
can't believe
moment.
you've done this.
I love that moment so much. Hold on. I have
But
to find it.
but like the collector being all like, did I screw up, and Luce saying like, no, like you didn't do anything wrong.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. I thought that was perfect.
Like trying to help someone isn't a fuck up. It's not a mistake.
Yes.
The person who fucked up here is
Bellows.
clearly Bellend. I mean, Bellows.
Bellend, yeah. No, 100%. Absolutely. I really loved that. I thought that was brilliantly done. Yeah, so the even when the trapper jerks were weird, so I didn't quite understand that. So he trapped me, King's dad trapped me, and then I showed all of them. Even when those trapper jerks started acting weird, I don't quite understand that line. Maybe someone can explain that to
they
me.
did start dressing in the corpses of their enemies, and they started
Yeah,
a cult.
and they were trying to
So,
like worship the collector.
and the
Remember?
collector just wants to play Pac-Man, guys. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking chill. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then of course we know that Bello lied to the collector, and you know the collector is like, I found the last Titan and he's my friend now, right? Which is really sad. Because we know that that's all the collector wants. Like he just wants a friend, and this is that really kid tantrum moment, right? Where he's like, I'll pretend I don't care. I'll pretend as long as I want, right? And then you know, Luce is like, but it's not what you want, right? Like you're just acting out. And here's where we finally kind of make those connections and those parallels, right? Like we know what it's like to be outcast, to be alone, to be you know, not someone that belongs with the people that we're supposed to belong with, right? And then we get the opportunity to go out and visit these places and see them and tell our stories to the collector directly, which I thought was really sweet.
And let the audience relive.
Yes, let the audience relive. So at this point we're cutting back to Rain. Do you want to keep going? How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
All right, let's keep going. So we cut back to Rain, and we've got more Rain versus Goop in the scene. I said get out, and Rain does some cool magic and expels the Goop. Meanwhile, Bellos is like, that's fine. You got me most of the way there. I'm just going to slime my way the rest of the way there.
He says those exact words.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry about it, Rain. I'll just slime it up.
I'll just do some slime. Just let me do a little slime.
So let me do a little slime. Rain runs up to the heart and pulls out the violin, and Belle's like, you know what this is, don't you? The last of many, but it still beats. So I guess like, yeah, there's a moment here where we kind of have to like stop and think, and it's like, wow, Bellows has been sitting below this heart since who even knows how long, right? I mean, like, we don't know when exactly the castle was built, but it's definitely been for at least a few decades, right? And he's just been here the whole time, and he just never put two and two together that this thing was like actually alive and that he could possess it.
He's just astonishing. Astonishing.
And then he does a little nib on Rain.
Just a little nib.
Not like chomby. A big.
Not like a big nib, just a little
nib. And like the eyes, I really do. We joke about the goop and whatever a lot, but I really do like the design of Goop Bellows. Like he's so creepy and gross, and the eyes are so unsettling. And yeah, it's just the horror factors is really fun.
But he's also a dork ass loser.
He's also a pathetic slime stain.
Fucking piece of garbage.
Exactly.
Gabaggio.
No worries, Toon. Thanks so much for stopping by. As long as you did, appreciate you being here. I don't understand why Hunter almost died from Bellows and Rain didn't. I feel like Rain is going through it. I don't know.
I feel like it was the drowning thing.
The drowning thing almost killed Hunter. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it was the drowning thing that almost killed Hunter. Is it true that like, is there something about like, am I imagining this? Grim walkers can't swim or something like that.
I think you're imagining that.
I'm getting mixed.
I think Hunter just never had swimming classes as a kid.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, most of the water there is like boiling so
anyway. Yeah,
it's not like ideal. It's not ideal, is what I'm saying.
Not ideal. Yeah. Yeah. He just gave Rain rabies and then went about his day. Yeah, this was again that moment where I just felt like, yeah, this was a little for the sake of drama, I guess, right? Like Rain breaking the violin, and it looks very cool, right? Like the spell going around and protecting the heart, and it kind of covering it almost in the nick of time, but the goop managed to sneak its way through, just a little drop of it, and possess the heart. So yeah, again, like it was cool, definitely a cool moment, but I just thought that a lot of this Rain Bella stuff was a little contrived for the sake of drama.
It was still neat.
Still kind of neat. Yeah, still neat. For sure.
Neat.
You tried so hard and got so far.
In the end, didn't even matter.
It didn't even freaking matter. And then he goes goop mode. What can I say?
What more can you say? He goes Insanio style. He goes sicko mode.
Exactly.
And it's not even the first time somebody goes sicko mode in this episode. Ida and King both acquire peak sicko. And go Insanio style.
Yeah. Exactly. This was definitely very cool though, right? With the eye glowing, and then the green goop just taking over the entire like surface of the land. And yeah, what did you say it was similar to? It was similar to Berserk.
It just felt very Dark Souls to me.
Dark Souls, right. Yeah, very Dark Souls.
It just felt very Dark Souls to me. I'm happy they didn't go for a Dark Souls ending though, because Dark Souls typically usually Dark Souls gives you two options for an ending, and neither of them are good. They're both like, right, do you want the sad ending or the other sad ending?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thankfully, they didn't go that way.
Yeah, exactly. Theus Bellows got to the heart, and then he turned into Bob Hoskins. Classic. Bob Hoskins.
Well, I mean, as we know, when King's dad whispers, in Lucy's ear, and she's like, "Oh, don't you want to say anything to King?" And he whispers that actually the real Titan was the Bob Hoskins we made along the way.
The Bob Hoskins we made along the way.
And let's face it, we alone in this stream have made many a Bob Hoskins.
Many.
We have made many a Bob. I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying.
What are we even saying?
Why do you let me talk?
All right, so Bellows goops the heart, and he goops it all over the place. Meanwhile, Amity has successfully created the light glyph, which I thought was just very, very neat. I thought that was a cool thing that she did there, creating the light glyph and waking herself up and the rest of our gang. And we wake up and we see all the puppets are all around us, and it's very creepy and unsettling. Could you imagine like waking up in a room and just like seeing all the people all around you, but they're all puppets and hung up from the wall. Like, God, that'd be so creepy.
I think it depends on the person. I think I'm at a stage in my life now where I'm so tired and so like burnt out
You would
on
just accept
everything.
it.
I would just wake up and be like, "Oh, this shit again."
It's fucking Thursday again.
Fucking Thursday. I wake up and I'm still alive. I'm disappointed, but I am not surprised. I'm looking around and there's just like puppets, life-size puppets of everyone I know, and I'm like, what did I drink last night? Honestly,
Can I just say though? Can I just say, Camila as a puppet, she's still hot. I still would. She's still hot.
yeah, but would she consent to that? That's the thing.
Well, obviously, I wouldn't if that was the case. But I'm just trying to say that she's hot. All right.
You can't ask a puppet for consent.
Listen, if we were both puppets,
A puppet can't ask another puppet for consent.
it's like it would be like the collector playing with Barbies.
Oh
Okay,
God.
I'm stopping. I'm stopping there. Okay.
I think you might have successfully said the worst thing in this stream. Normally it goes to me.
I'm just trying to say that Camila is a MILF. That's all I'm saying.
And I agree. I agree. But also puppets. I draw the line at puppets. I draw the line at sentient puppets who are alive inside a lifeless prison of their own flesh.
All I'm saying is that Camila's attractiveness is so transcendent that even as a puppet, she's still hot. That's all I'm trying to say here. I'm not saying anything else.
You did.
Anyway, back to the collector.
Back to the future.
We are back here and we go back to the owl house, and I love that we just get a little moment of Ida being like, what the hell happened here? Like, it's a mess. I'm gonna have to clean this up. And we also get this line here from the collector being like, the birdhouse. I thought that was funny.
It's like witch's battle.
Yeah.
doesn't have a great memory for the details.
You're right. It's like, did you not even know what the title of the show is, collector? It's not the birdhouse.
Well, there's probably another dimension somewhere where it is just called the birdhouse.
Thanks for stopping by, Shia. Appreciate you being here. Have a good rest of your day.
I highly doubt this is the last.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
I highly doubt. I have too many emotions.
We have too much to say. Yeah, so the gang tells the collector about their time at the owl house, and it's like, things were not great at home, but I found my way here, and again, kind of drawing those parallels, right? Like Luce, in the same way as the collector, did not fit in with the other people of her species, right? So in that sense, they are very similar. And it wasn't until they came here and I met Albert, Huda, and Ida, and King, and we none of us fit in, so we decided not to fit in together, right? And the collector being like, "Oh, it was that easy, huh?" And Luce being like, "No, it really wasn't that easy, right? Like I had to learn the hard way," and like actually showing like these examples, right, of like the times that she messed up and like the times that she didn't understand and she had to learn, right? Again, drawing those parallels between her and the collector, like the collector also having to learn how the world around him works and how he fits into it, right? And again, after getting help from people who met me, or people who helped me, right? And again, that's exactly what's happening here with the collector, right? Luce and Ida and King are being those people to now help him figure out the world.
They're sharing a drink they call loneliness.
Yes, exactly.
It's
exactly.
better than drinking alone.
Aww.
50 points to anybody who can tell me what that's a line.
I know what it is. And then, we go back to the Grudge Bee game, right? And, the collector is kind of seeing this camaraderie and, is sad, right? That he's kind of like not a part of it. And then he notices, the other kids on the field and he's like, this is my chance. I'm going to try friendship. And is like, do you want to be my Grudge Bee buddies? And we get this terrifying death stare from the collector, which is hilarious, which obviously scares off the other kids, right? And they run away, which upsets the collector, right? Like he gets kind of angry, right? He's like, oh, I want to go somewhere different, right? But these are like the lessons. Like if I had one complaint about this whole sequence with the collector, it just felt a little fast to me, because like the collector, even like just in the last episode, right, like was so uncaring about like other people. And it's not, I guess like it's not that he didn't care about other people, but like I don't know, it just felt a little fast to me, I guess, is my only complaint about this entire thing. Like it felt like the collector had so much that he had to kind of learn and go through emotionally, and it just felt like we were going through it really fast, like learning that not everyone is going to react positively to your best efforts, right? And having to kind of deal with the emotions that come with that. Like there's a lot that goes into trying to learn how to make friends when you don't know how to do it. And it just felt like it went really fast to me, which I guess is okay in some sense, because, like I said, it does parallel Luce's arc, and we got a longer arc with Luz throughout the entire series. So in that sense, like we can kind of extrapolate what the arc of the collector is by acknowledging that it is kind of parallel
by
to Luz's arc. Yeah. But at the same time, it was kind of my same thing with my complaint about Basha in the last episode too, right? Like it's not that I didn't like that she had that turn, but it just came really fast and it felt a little unearned. And I guess that's how I feel about this here.
I don't really care about Basha, but yeah, I do care about the collector. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of speedy, but again, I mean, this is one of those things where you kind of can look at it and be like, okay, it was cut.
Yeah, I can only complain about it so much. Exactly.
It got cut, is what it is.
Exactly. And so they go back to the knee, and Luce explains that this is where I learned magic, and she does the ice glyph, and I love that the collector is like, a baby could do that, right? Like, because we know that
like Amity. It's a throwback to what Amity said after Luce showed Amity the light.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about that.
A child could do that, but I've never seen it done that way before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is more or less exactly what the
collector says, right? Like I've never seen an itty bitty spider do it that way, which is really, I didn't even make that connection. That's cool. I just thought it was funny that he said a baby could do that because he's a baby.
Well, he can't say a child because he's a child.
Yeah.
Like he can't say the exact Amity line.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to say baby instead, because baby is the next level lower.
And then he says, not everyone can recognize Titan magic. And this is where we get like the confirmation, right? He must really like you if he showed you this much. We've got the implication throughout the entire show, right? That the Titan was still sentient in some way and was intentionally showing Luce the glyphs versus hiding the glyphs from Philip, right, in the past. So this is confirmed now. We know for a fact now that the Titan was intentionally showing Luce the glyphs. And I really love that. I love that because Luce was shown the glyphs because of her kindness. It was because of her kindness and friendship with King that the Titan, that Papa Titan, trusted Luce enough to kind of gift her with this knowledge, right? And I think that's really beautiful.
Do you know what would have been funny?
Yeah.
If Papa Titan was voiced by Charlene Yi.
Yeah. Oh my god, that would have been too similar to Amphibia.
But it would have been really funny.
It would have been funny, yeah, for sure.
And I just like the idea of this big titan just having Charlene use little tiny voice.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, the collector's like, did you force him to be your friend too, like those other people, like Lilith and Amity? And King is like, no, she didn't force anyone. Like people are complex, right? And sometimes they just need a little kindness and forgiveness, right? I love the setup that this does for, obviously the confrontation with the collector and Bellows later on. But this is such like a beautiful kind of way to illustrate this lesson, right? And to kind of teach it to the collector. Like friendship is hard, and sometimes there are people who have good intentions and don't necessarily have the right tools or the right like language or whatever to communicate what their intentions are, right? And so um and I love that, like specifically to like um you know the collector brings up Lilith and Amity, who are
Mm.
two characters specifically that needed that kindness and forgiveness in order to form those connections and develop those relationships as deep as they are now. So I thought that was a beautiful connection there.
I really thought Kikimora would have served a nicer spot in the story as a turnabout hero.
Yeah, right. Like Kikimora had so much potential, and it was just thrown out, and she turned into a gag character, and that's why I hate her so much.
I like her design though. She's a little squishy, little babby,
little gremlin.
little babby.
And then we hear the breathing, right? The ominous shifting of the land.
I could make a Hey Arnold joke here, but I don't know if enough people in the chat are like old enough to remember Hey Arnold.
What's the joke?
Well, you know how like every time Helga Pataki goes off on a monologue about how much she loves Arnold, it's always interrupted by Brainy or whatever his name is, like breathing loudly in her
Oh
ear.
yeah, yeah.
And it pans across to him just like standing there going like, and then she'll like punch him in the face.
Yes.
They hear the breathing in their ears. It's like, Brainy, what are you doing here?
Yes,
And then,
absolutely. Oh my god, that's funny. I totally forgot that was a running gag. Oh my gosh, so good. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I feel like this is a good kind of like stopping point in terms of like talking about the special, but and we're about 2 hours into our discussion anyway, so I feel like this is a good place to kind of wrap it up.
yeah.
But I guess before we wrap up the discussion for today, any other kind of final thoughts on anything in general? Your feelings, your thoughts on just anything in the special. We don't necessarily have to talk about sequentially stuff. But yeah, any other kind of final thoughts that you want to say before we wrap up today, Tom?
It doesn't feel. It still doesn't feel real to me.
Yeah.
Like I loved this special, I really did. But like the first thing I said to Ed when we got done watching it was that it still felt like the finale of a show that was forced to end.
Yes. Yeah.
It still had that feeling to it, which is not even necessarily like a bad thing. It's not even necessarily like a criticism. But when I think about, for example, Steven Universe, which admittedly got two endings, but Steven Universe ended and it felt like perfect. Okay, there it is. That's the ending.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can put that chapter of my life to rest, and it will always have it will always mean something important to me. I don't feel ready to put the Owl House down yet.
Yeah, I'm totally on the same boat as you. And it helps that we at least are going to continue talking about it for a few weeks.
Yeah. And I'm working on a little Owl House comic as well.
Ooh, nice. That's
but
exciting.
It's like the Owl House, it's been one of the weirdest things for me to be a part of as a fan, because I mentioned on Twitter before, like I feel like I learned art through the Owl House. Not literally, but like the Owl House became a hyperfixation for me at the same time as I was starting to take art more seriously, and so I would end up learning my fundamentals through drawing Owl House fan art.
Yeah, I remember a lot of your Ida fan art from the beginning.
Because I was just obsessed. I was like, I need to draw more of this hot owl MILF. It's about,
I mean, yeah, I don't blame
not
you.
not to be crude, but I just like I wanted to draw more and more of these characters. And the show, just like the tragic thing of it, in a way that I don't think would be the same if I discovered this show after it had finished airing. The difficulty is, being a viewer watching it as it has been coming out, means that my interest in it has just like bounced up and down.
Yeah, for sure.
And like even with this season, like we went into it with that first special like so hyped with how good it was. I was so excited, and then the second special came out. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with this show now. And then the third episode came out, and it just dragged me back in again.
Yeah,
It's been a weird emotional experience for me as a viewer.
definitely. Yeah.
But at the same time, I would rather be dragged back in the finale than dragged back in and then like let down.
Definitely. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but I don't know how is it going to feel to rewatch it all the way through from beginning to end with no hiatuses, no
Yeah.
break.
I feel like it'll definitely feel a lot different because I mean I remember having that experience like with Steven Universe, right? Like I think like a lot of people when they think about their experience of the show and a lot of their complaints about the show, like people who are not necessarily like us who are like super into watching media, like people who more so watch media like for fun, right? Or like to relax or whatever, right? Like those people I and especially like kids, right? Who of course is the intended audience for these shows. But I feel like there was a lot of complaints about like the pacing of Steven Universe. And of course a lot of that I feel like had to do with the airing schedule, right? And I mean
Yeah,
like
I mean,
the
airing schedule is
hiatuses.
something.
And I feel like definitely like as someone who watched Steven Universe as it was airing, like I can't deny that affected my enjoyment of the show. Like there were definitely super long hiatuses where I just completely forgot about the show and like it really affected the pacing. But as you go back and rewatch the show in its entirety, like
You get
almost
the full picture, start to finish.
like I feel like all of those pacing complaints like are just non issues when you watch the show in its entirety
But
because like yeah, I don't know. I don't find any issue with the pacing of Steven Universe whatsoever. So I'm curious to know if I will have similar or different feelings when I rewatch the Owl House in its
yeah,
entirety.
I didn't even. Yeah, I did. I came into Steven Universe relatively late. I think 3 seasons had been released when I came into Steven Universe, and then I
Mm-hmm.
stopped watching it, and I got busy with my education. Came back to it after it had already finished. So I've
Mm.
never, thankfully for Steven Universe, I've never had that issue. But that's another thing as well. I think with this show ending is this is like the last show I'm watching anyway that had a consistent release schedule of
Right.
like we're okay for the next month or couple of months. Every Saturday, there's a new episode waiting for
Yeah.
you. Every Saturday, Amphibia, The Owl House. With shows like that's what really bothers me about shows like Craig of the Creek and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. As much as I love them, it's like, hey, when's the next Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur episode?
Seriously, I
Or
don't
it's
know
like,
what is up with like networks and not doing these just like normal weekly releases anymore because like
yeah, it's like, oh, we'll have one episode. Well, they're uploading 3 episodes today, and then a couple of weeks
why?
pass, and they have another four,
It's so
and
annoying.
then a week passes, and they have one, and then a couple of weeks pass, and they have another one, and then the very next day they do the rest of the season all in one
Yeah, it's
chunk, and
so
it's like, why are you
frustrating.
doing it like that? Just release it normally,
Just do it
please.
normally.
Like
Yeah.
either release it all at once, or release it just regular every Saturday or every Friday or whatever. Just pick a day to release it weekly. Do or don't.
Yeah. Yeah,
Please,
I agree
no,
with
God.
you. I wish that
Um,
networks would just go back to that because it's really frustrating.
And it's like
Um,
that with Molly McGee as well. I think Molly McGee was on a regular schedule, but it's not. Like the second season of Molly McGee, I don't think is on a regular schedule
Yeah, they
right
like
now.
release the episodes all weird. And yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Jay, that like I enjoy watching media as it comes out. Like I feel like that can be such an experience, right? Especially like if it's something that is part of the cultural zeitgeist, the way that Owl House was, like people talking about it every week and like having and like what we were doing on the channel, right? Like having discussions every week and talking about the new episodes as they were coming out. Like I love that stuff. Like that stuff is awesome and so
It's
much fun and it's such a great experience. But like when networks do this stuff where they're like messing up with the release schedule and they're making it all funky and weird, it's like it kind of takes away from that too, and it's kind of a shame.
what I call the "Who Shot Mr. Burns" effect.
Right, totally.
Like watching things as they come out
Yeah,
will always have that like immediate,
yeah,
it's that immediate thing. But it's yeah, I don't know. I miss having that regularity.
me too, me too,
Of
for sure.
I've got another Amphibia episode coming out, and
Yeah, I really
that's
wish
that.
networks would go back to that because like it's just so comforting, and it's like especially with the episodes coming out on Saturdays, right? It just at least for me it reminds me of those Saturday morning cartoon feelings, and it's like come on, let me just be a kid for one day of the week for a little bit for like half an hour of the day, please. Like I just want that
Please,
feeling.
I'm so done with having to fight off the Ponzi conservative broadcasters getting upset about gay
Exactly,
people on
exactly.
TV. I'm
Literally.
so sick of Fauntleroy and his Christian values, his Judeo-Christian values.
On the BBC, yeah,
The
exactly.
BBC. He'll be a guest on PragerU in a couple of weeks.
Oh my
Um,
god, yeah, exactly.
to
But yeah,
talk to you about
I do
why
agree with you.
representation is bad.
But yes, I do agree with you that I'm gonna miss the new episodes coming out. It's a shame that they're not really doing that with any shows right now. But I am looking forward to rewatching the Owl House just kind of in its entirety on my own pace and kind of seeing how that affects it. Because like I was looking back at some older episodes of the show and like this show has been going on for a while. Like it came out in early 2020, I think, is when it started, or 2019 even maybe.
Let's have a look.
And there was
Google.
and there was quite a long break like between I think season 1 and season 2. So
First
yeah.
episode was early in 2020, January 10th, 2020.
Yeah, so before the
Um,
pandemic, January 2020. That's crazy.
I'll say another thing. I wish we got like something from Odalia.
Oh yeah, she wasn't in it at all,
Something.
wasn't
She
she?
was in a single shot
Was she? I didn't
when
even notice. I didn't even
yeah,
notice her.
when Amity sees Alador and like embraces him, a person moves to one side and like Odalia's leaning up against a pillar and just like looks away. And I know she didn't deserve a redemption, but I would have liked the hint that there is a future for her, that she
Yeah.
even if we don't see it on screen, there's a hint that she has the potential to be better.
Sure, sure. I did like the Darius Alador implication though. That was fun.
I love that. And of course, Darius is going to adopt Hunter
Yes,
as
of course.
his
Yes.
son,
We
his
love it.
baby, his
We love to see
child.
it. Um
Um,
yeah, the mid-season breaks were there as well too. That's true, Bort. Yeah. Just I guess really quick before we wrap up, like I just really quick thoughts on the time skip. Just I loved it. There was just so much feel good, like you said, fan
God,
servicey, but like the good kind of fan service, right? Like the kind of fan service where you were like, yes, service me, please.
please.
Yeah, I really like the time skip. I thought there was a lot of fun stuff in there. I loved Darius, I love Alador, but yeah, I think that's a good point. Like we could have maybe seen at least a little hint of Odalia, something more there, huh?
I just really like her hips. Is the thing. That's just the thing
she's
about
just
that.
thick. She's just thick. What can you say?
So I will always be an Odalia apologist. And it is 100% motivated by the fact I am a simp. And I'm not sorry. And if you have any complaints, please direct them to I don't give a shit at fuckyou.com. I just yeah, the
You can't
time skip.
deny. You just can't deny.
I really liked the outfits and the designs, the grown-up designs. I like that I actually like that they didn't go for the beta designs for that.
Yeah. I'm like cackling at Bort's comment in the chat. Old man Yowie.
Hey, Darius is a spring chicken. Okay.
How dare you call him old?
How dare you? He's a beautiful man. They're both beautiful men, but let's face it, Darius is more beautiful. And he's the spring chicken. I don't see a single wrinkle on that beautifully maintained face.
No.
He moisturized it.
Obviously he's got great skin. Yes, and then seeing V and the photo of V and Luz graduating together, that was so good. That made me so happy. I love that. And just and V got quite a few lines. I was surprised that she got that many speaking lines at the end. I was expecting maybe one or two at most, but she had quite a feew lines at the end. More than Hootie, which is a kind of a
more
shame.
than Hootie, which is sad. But it's I sent Toon a message saying, basically indicating that I'd watched the special, and the first thing he did was send a screen cap of one of the Polaroids.
The Polaroids at the end with V
graduating, and just like, we won.
Yes, so precious, so precious. Yes, and they all have matching flapjack tattoos. Jay, that's really cute.
I didn't notice the matching.
Yeah. Well, let's see if I can find
the flapjack gravesite. Hurt me deeply.
Oh, that got me in the feels. There was so much in this time skip that just punched my heart in the best way. I was like crying so much throughout this entire they've all got you can see, oops, wrong. You can see like on Willow's arm, her shoulder, she's got one here, and I think Hunter has it on his wrist. Yeah, so they've all got these cute little matching flapjack tattoos,
I'm waiting for the stream to catch up because I can't see.
Yeah. And I think all of our main gang has it. Hunter, Gus, Willow, Amity, and Luz. I think they all have this little flapjack tattoo.
I just saw your little graphic flash up on screen. I like how you still have that.
I know, I just left that there.
I will admit, I'm happy that Darius and Eberwolf are not dead.
Yay! Yeah, they survived.
AKA Daddy Darius and literally just Maeve.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there are the matching tattoos.
So cute.
I don't know what the fuck is going on with Amity's hair, but I'm here for it.
I like it. I love all their designs. I think they're really good. They're really fun and really cool. How much Luz's new design is the most bisexual character design, dude? So bisexual, so non-binary, so gender. You can fit so much gender in this bad boy.
It's not just so gender, it's extreme gender.
So
like a little guitar lick plays.
Yes, so much gender in this puppy. You wouldn't even believe. Hold on, I need to get to
fucking
Luz.
Believe it. If you're a fan of Luz, does that make you a loser? Are we losers?
I'm a proud loser.
We're just a bunch of losers.
I'm a proud loser head.
I'm a loser, baby.
I'm a loser. Yeah. No, I freaking
Why don't you kill me?
I love Luz's future design so much. I love her bottom eyelashes so much. They're so freaking good. Her like wavy hair, her like eyebrow scar is still there. She's wearing Amity's necklace, which is so precious and cute. And yeah, we can see the flapjack tattoo she's got on her arm as well, which is precious. Yeah, I absolutely love her design. It's so freaking gender, and I all of their designs are great. But yeah, I really love Luz's design.
There's an alternate universe somewhere where we got a sad ending.
Oh no.
Let's be real.
I
Like, we
don't
know
care for it.
we always knew it was in the cards.
That's true. Everyone was always like, Dana doesn't like happy endings, and so everyone was like expecting it to be like super tragic or whatever. But
it's a Disney show.
It's a Disney show. It was always gonna have a happy ending. How do we feel about the fact there was a little fake out moment too, right? Where Luce talks to her mom in the time skip about going to college, and she's like, it'll be so nice to see everyone again. And for a moment I was like, oh no, did they not see each other for a while? And then Camila is like, oh yeah, you saw them last week. And I was like, oh, thank God. Right? Like a little fake out moment where we think for a moment that they're separated, but it turns out that the portal is just open and they can go back and forth as they will, right? Which is kind of what we predicted was going to happen. And
the collector.
And the collector just comes and goes, and yeah. So I feel like that's the best way they could have done it, right? Like keeping the portal open and having folks just go in and out as they please. And I thought the little fake out moment was funny. It got me for sure.
I'm very satisfied with the happy ending, but I also, if it were done well, I don't think I would have been dissatisfied with an unhappy ending.
What unhappy ending do you think could have been like done well in your opinion?
I'm trying to think of like examples of like at least bittersweet endings.
I know that you were thinking that maybe like someone could have died, like Rain or Darius or.
I just love when people die in the shows. I love it. I'm a big fan. I think my favorite ending of all time is the ending of Chinatown, which says a lot about me as a person, I think.
Yeah.
That is like one of the most upsetting endings. You and I watched The Kid Detective. That was your first time seeing that. My second time.
Right.
That's
pretty
beautiful
upsetting.
Ending.
Yeah.
It's so grim. It's so horrendous.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, give it to me.
It just fucking takes your heart and wrings it out like a towel, like this.
Just give me that misery core. Like characters dying for the greater good.
Yeah,
sacrifice can work. Making sacrifice work is possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Van Hohenheim dying.
Oh yes,
is a good one.
So good. You had a prediction that maybe Camila was gonna die, right? Are you
Did I
think at one point you said that, but I'm glad that she didn't die.
Did I say that? I don't remember saying that. I remember seeing a YouTube thumbnail that was like, Camila won't survive the outhouse, and I remember thinking that was dumb.
Oh, maybe someone in the chat said it and I got it mixed up. I don't remember.
Honestly, my opinion changes so rapidly and my memory is so bad.
So maybe.
I might have said it, but I don't remember saying it. And I can say right now, it doesn't feel like something I would have said. I don't ever remember being of that mind, but
yeah, but a lot of people were predicting that some character would sacrifice himself. Jay says that, thinking that King would sacrifice himself, leaving Luce trapped because there'd be no more Titan blood. That would have been a really sad ending, yeah.
Technically, somebody did sacrifice himself, and that was Luce.
Luce did sacrifice herself at one point to protect the Collector. And King's dad, right, sacrificed himself. And the glyphs no longer work at the end, right? There was all that.
They brought that back around again with the implication that now that King is growing, that
there's
energy
like
is coming back.
There's new glyphs now. Yeah. I really like that. I thought that was really cool. And I love that implication too. Like they implied that there's a new glyph language now, right? Because King is a different Titan. And so it implies that like all of the Titans individually had their own like glyph language, right? And I have a lot to say about that in terms of what magic has represented on this show allegorically. I have a lot of thoughts on the idea of glyphs being so open-ended, I guess is the best word I could use for it right now. But I'm still processing my thoughts, so I'm not gonna give my analysis on that right now, but I will say that I think it's really cool and has a lot of cool implications in terms of the allegory of magic in the show as well.
If you were a Titan, what would your glyph language be?
I don't know. That's a good question. What I feel
Silence.
like I don't know. Maybe like emojis or something.
That's sad.
I'm kidding. I just couldn't think of anything.
Sad. Mine would be like Cockney rhyming slang, but it would be like not a very good understanding of Cockney rhyming slang because I'm not a Cockney and I only know like 2 or 3 phrases.
Mm.
So you would have like trouble and strife. You'd have apples and pears. And then the rest of it would all just be made up. It would just be complete bullshit.
Yeah. Also, that is a really neat detail too, and that I didn't notice, that the new door, doesn't seem to involve Titan's blood at all, and the design implies that it's the collector's doing. And you're right.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said.
Did you say that?
I said, yeah. I said the collector. Yeah, because of the collector, they can go back and forth.
I totally missed you saying that. I apologize, but you're so right.
It even has his voice. It even has his voice going like, welcome to Penn Island, or whatever he says.
Penn Island. Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Welcome to the Boiling Isles.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I missed you saying that.
You have done me a dirty on this day.
I apologize.
You fucker.
That one cool S that everyone draws in school, that would be the glyph. Yeah, that's a good one, Jay. That's funny. Yeah, the time skip. I have a lot of thoughts about the idea of glyphs being unique to every Titan, but let me digest that a little bit, and we'll talk more about that another time. Yeah, I love the ending. It was very sweet. It didn't feel saccharine to me either. It felt like the right amount of sweet. It felt earned. It felt good. I cried. Yeah. I cried like a little babby throughout the entire thing, and I loved it. I feel like we can probably, or I guess, do you have anything else we want to add before we wrap it up?
I mean, the answer is yes, but like I don't want to keep us here forever.
Okay. Yeah, I guess like just for me, like I'm starting to get kind of tired and I'm running out of steam at this point. But if you have any other last thoughts before we wrap it up.
No, I'll let you go. I won't keep you here forever.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. This was obviously a big one. Apologies again if we seemed a little all over the place, but obviously we had a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts on this one. We'll obviously be continuing the discussion next week. We have a lot more to say, a lot more thoughts, and we have to get through the rest of the special, the scene by scene. So we'll be continuing on next week at our usual time, Sunday at 11 a.m. PST, and we will continue talking about the Owl House special. So even though it's over and it's done, at least in our little corner of the internet, we'll keep going at least for a little bit and continue the Owl House love and discussion from there. Thank you all again for hanging out today. This was so fun, and it was so good to see everyone again, especially after taking a break for a few weeks. And being back to the streams is always a really nice feeling, and getting to see everyone again is really, really great. Really super appreciate everyone being here today and for stopping by. And if you're watching this as a VOD again in the future, I appreciate you as well too. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm still planning on trimming down the streams and posting them as videos at some point. I'll probably start doing that in the coming weeks. So yeah, don't be surprised if the streams start popping up in the video feed, because I'm gonna start trimming those down and getting those up on there.
Valid.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. Thank you all again for hanging out, and we will see you all next time. Stay safe and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.